Hi and welcome to Chugging Along. I'm Tim.
And I'm Sam.
So yeah, welcome to this video today where we're going to be taking a little bit of time out from our trip up to Llangollen, and we're going to be doing another video on our series Canal Lives.
As you might know, or you might not know if you're new to this channel, we live on our 53-foot narrowboat Mary L, and we cruise in her in the British waterways. But we started to think about other alternatives, and there are many different types of boats, one of which are called GRP cruisers, which are also affectionately known as yogurt pots.
Yeah.
Now, these boats are a lot smaller than your conventional narrowboat, and because they're a lot smaller, they tend to be cheaper to moor in terms of mooring fees, and also cheaper when you're getting a CRT license as well. And they're also very light, so you don't need a powerful engine to actually run them, which can be an extra added advantage. And they're also cheaper to buy. We've seen quite a couple of these cruisers. They're on sale for about £1,000, so they're not that expensive. So if you're quite strapped for cash, it could be an option. That being said, we haven't seen lots of people living aboard these cruisers, but we have met a couple. So it is possible to live on them if you don't mind living in a smaller space, really.
Definitely, yeah. Bargain potential. The next type of boat we can talk about is wide beams. So they are effectively the same as narrowboats, but actually double the width, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
You know, their mothers would describe them as big boned, but with that, you get a sprinkling of that luxury dust. You can have your sofa sideways. Your storage options are absolutely insane. And yeah, they are pretty amazing. That does come at a cost, and you are slightly restricted in terms of the waterways that you can go on. But once you accept that as a fact, I would say it's a great way to live on the water. Another kind of boat that we can talk about is Dutch barges, which is what today's video is about. Now, Dutch barges do actually come in all shapes and sizes, but the ones that we've seen quite a lot of, they're the quite small ones, and we really like them. And in fact, that we think that this is the best alternative to a narrowboat on the British waterways. So yeah, Sam, my question to you is, what do you think the appeal of these boats is?
I think it's the historical appeal. I think for a lot of people it's having that slice of history and having it as your own. A lot of these Dutch barges can be from 80 to 120 years old, and we've seen quite a few of them on the K&A and the Thames, so they are quite popular. And I think that a lot of that has obviously got something to do with the fact that these Dutch barges, they would have serviced the canals in the Netherlands. They would have been the power horses of the canals there. They would have transported the grains to the windmills, the potatoes and the coals to the Dutch people to keep them fed and to keep them warm over winter. So there's a lot of history that's attached to them, and it almost tells a story. And I think for some people you want that connection to the story of a boat. So I think that could be part of its popularity as well, really. We've seen quite a few that look very livable, and they're only about £20,000 to £30,000. So comparatively speaking to a narrowboat, for your own slice of history, you're not having to pay too much money. But obviously depends on the size of the Dutch barge that you're getting. As you said, you know, they come in a variety of shapes and sizes, and obviously that's something to take into consideration, because just like a wide beam, there can be restrictions as a result of their size. You might not be able to get through certain bridges or certain tunnels on the
Well, that's the height system as well, isn't it?
Yes,
yeah.
Obviously, or into the height. So that's something to take into consideration.
We actually made some friends who live on one of these boats, and they were kind enough to share with everyone what it's actually like living on a 100-year-old boat. Well, 101 actually. And yeah, considering that Mary L is only 22, we were very interested to see that, weren't we? So right, here we go, guys. Sit down, put some mayonnaise on your cone of chips and relax. Amsterdam style. Well, not like that. I mean, well, you can if you want. We're not going to report you. Right, anyway, on to the video. Who are you, Ember?
Some Aussie on a boat.
I'm not an Aussie, but I am on a boat. So yeah, we're Josh and Ember, and we live on the Chimp, which is a 101-year-old Dutch barge. Yeah, I've had
this boat since November 2019, so I guess it's coming on 18 months. It's not the first boat I've lived on. I lived on a boat in Amsterdam too. Well, it's more of a chalet on a floating pontoon, but yeah, this one since November 2019.
I got here in the UK in October last year, so 2020. First time on a boat, first time in Europe, so it's been a bit interesting living on the boat through winter. I always wanted to own a piece of land and build my own house, and now I'm loving the idea of living on the water where you own your home but you move and you're flowing with the land and the seasons.
I think I've always dreamed of doing proper boat life. Yeah, I suppose the stars aligned, 18 months ago, and I thought, well, I've always wanted to do it. I've got an opportunity, so I'll go for it. And so did I ever think I would live on a boat? I always dreamed of it. I kind of always wanted to. I didn't know if I ever would, and I suppose the older I was getting, the more I thought that dream might not become a reality. I have gone down the home ownership and sensible career and good car and steady life road, but not being on that road for a while, meant that I had the opportunity, and I haven't regretted it for a minute. It's been an amazing place to live while the world has sadly been chaotic around us, and those of us on the water have, although we've had to stay put, we've been really fortunate, and it's amazing. I love it, and I have no plans. I'm sure plans will change, but right now plans are not to get off.
Water doesn't stay in the land in Australia. It either goes into big underground reservoirs and disappears from vision, or it actually totally floods because it doesn't absorb into the ground. So a lot of our rivers just disappear. So not many people live on rivers because they fluctuate in height so much. But there is locally for me in South Australia, there is the Murray River, and a lot of people do take houseboat holidays, but they're big houseboats, and the Murray is quite shallow but really wide, and so yeah, you get really wide big boats. I had a whole year worth of FaceTime awareness of what living on a boat was like. It was just a very different story when I got here and was like, oh, how do I step on? What is this life? Yeah, very different in the flesh. What's your experience of living on a Dutch barge, or knowing about Dutch barges? This is
my experience of living on a Dutch barge. I'd spent some time growing up in a place called Woodbridge on the east coast of England, in Suffolk, and there's a big Dutch barge. There's quite a few large Dutch barges there that I've always loved and thought were totally beautiful, and then living in Amsterdam, I got to know some people who had quite big Dutch barges, and the accommodation down below was always amazing, and they just have beautiful shapes. They've always got beautiful lines in the water, and they look like they can do work. Do you know what I mean? They're sturdy steel boats. She's 101 years old, and it's the original steel hull. They're just solid bits of gear, and they just have such character. So yeah, I've always loved them, whether I've lived on them or not.
And this is Chimp. This is obviously her. She's got a pretty good bow area. It's one of the things I love. But actually, where you can see the hatch, where the first long flower pot, whatever you want to call it, planter is right now. The plan is in June that this coach house will be extended out to there. To the front of the hatch, right across. So it's basically going to extend the living space inside, and it will reduce the front deck, the bow deck, but there'll still be some. So this is the original hull from 1920. Again, I don't know when the coach house was actually put on, but you can see here there is a panel here that begins there and ends there. That was what was added in 2016 to make her higher. Got full solar on the roof, that works a treat in summer. That's our canopy, which in the summer spends a lot of time down, which leads to this, one of the big things that we really love is this big outside space in the stern. So, you can have 6 people out here of an evening and a sunset, gin and tonic, Pinot Noir, whatever you fancy, and then you can actually see through to the bit of the boat I love the most, and probably actually made me buy her, is this huge window that just lets all the light into the boat. That's what I love. So that's the outside. So that's a tiller and rudder there, which is quite a bit bigger than a narrowboat. She's got a big fat rudder on the back, and unlike a narrowboat which is flat bottom, this Dutch barge has bilge keels. So on either side of the hull she has a keel in the middle. They're short, they're only about 1.5 meters, 2 meters long, but that gives us way more manoeuvrability, which is good because this is quite hard to navigate to steer.
Do you want to show us how do you steer it? Like, what do you...
Well, there's two ways. So if I'm lazy and I leave the canopy up and it's an easy navigation, then I helm her from here. But my throttle's down here, so it means I go like this a lot. If the canopy's down or it's a clear day, and actually next week I'm having some zips put in the front of the canopy so it rolls up, but I can actually navigate from here as well if the canopy's down. But again, the throttle's here, so I'm always having to turn around. So it makes it really good fun and a bit squeaky bum, even if it's just a boring journey. So yeah, that's how we navigate.
I know she was built in 1920 in the Netherlands. I don't know where in the Netherlands. I know that before 2016, at least for maybe 20-30 years, based on the age of the engine, that she was used probably as like a pleasure, almost day boat for a family or something. I don't know, on the inland waterways of Amsterdam. They have an amazing, outside of Amsterdam and through and down beyond, they have a really cool inland waterway system that leads to these amazing lakes. I mean, I spent time when I was a teenager sailing on the Veersmeer in the south of the Netherlands, which is amazing. So I think she will have been used for that. In 2016 she was shipped over to London on a truck, and her roof was raised the roof. I know, dad humour. I'm not even a dad. They raised it like 3 or 4 inches so it was higher, so you could like stand up fully if you were quite tall. So you can see like actually outside you can see some of the lines. There's a strip of metal that was added to boost her up. And in 2016 all the electrics were redone and actually the bathroom was put in. I don't think there was a bathroom in here before, stuff like that. Do I know what she did? No. My feeling is that she may not originally have had an engine based on how outside is configured. And she might have been a dumb barge, so one that was towed or pulled and just literally used for carrying grain from the windmills and stuff to ports or whatever. That's what a lot of them were used. A dumb barge, by the way, is a barge without an engine, for anyone watching. And I think her engine based on it was probably put in the late 70s, early 80s. So that's when I think she probably became less of a work ship and more of a fun ship.
It's nice to see the character come out of the people who live in the boat as well, and I think that's kind of the difference as well. You know, some people would go for a Dutch barge because of the different space inside and the different space outside, because I don't see, I think this particular boat has got the most outdoor space that I've seen on any boat, really. If you take the canopy off, it's massive.
So this is probably our favourite bit. It's the outside space. And when we get back on the river, loads of this gets tidied away, and we've got some nice cushions. And this becomes like it's another room. It's a summer room, and the sides roll up if you want it to. And it's just a really special space because you can sit out here with friends in the sunset, and yeah, it's really nice. So it does house the engine under there and the gas under there, but it just becomes a really nice summer room, really.
My engine is a 30-year-old 3-cylinder Volvo Penta that smokes more than me, and it's quite challenging to navigate this boat. I don't have full visibility like a narrowboater, but I love that she's a beaten up old thing of beauty that is she's unique because each one has been created differently.
Everyone's always boasting about how few hours their engine has done. I reckon mine has, it doesn't have a counter, thank God, because it would have gone round it 3 times, I reckon. Yeah, she's old, but she's brilliant.
Do you want to show it go? Is it easy to get? Yeah, stick the key in.
Let's see. The key is already in, so I'll do. I mean. Unlike most narrowboats, she's water cooled, so she has an intake pipe on the bottom of the hull which draws water through a filter into the engine, and it cools it down. On canals that's actually a problem because there's so much rubbish in the canals, but it often means it fills the filter up and it can cause my engine to overheat a little bit. So on the canals, after every trip I have to empty the filter and clean the filter out. And on the river that doesn't happen, so she's definitely happier on the river. The reason why I love this boat is largely a huge window that frames my kitchen, and that it makes me feel light. I'm not very good in dark places. So for me, that it's not about comparison really between one boat and another. It's just why I love this boat.
Yeah, our favourite part of the boat is the kitchen space. The bench top it's the only thing that Josh really has changed in the boat, and he did it just before I came to live in the UK. He actually went and spoke to another carpenter, or a carpenter who's another boater, and together they went and picked out all of these wicked pieces of wood from a reclamation centre, and as you can see there's all these different pieces of wood, colour and shape, and they actually hand built the whole worktop here, and it kind of just gives this really homely feel in this corner, together with our incredibly upmarket 4-burner stove. Very, very modern convenience. And yeah, a brand new fridge too. That was the only other thing that Josh brought in to the boat. This is like my favourite place in the morning. You come, you make your coffee on the coffee pot, and then you've got the big window, and it's just the nicest thing to wake up to, especially if you roll up the back canopy and you can see the sunrise just down over the water or something. It's just beautiful. Inside we've also got our fireplace, which is run with wood and coal, and that's also part of the morning routine. You get up and make the house warm. Inside we've done a whole heap to the interior of the boat. We've done a lot of painting, sanding. We've put a backboard here because no one had put a backboard behind the fireplace, and it's kind of wearing away. Yeah. I like the sitting area. It's actually really uncomfortable after a long period of time because it's so narrow, but it's a brilliant storage unit. So underneath we've got these hatches, so there's quite a bit of storage there for like our outdoor gear and our firewood, anything that we just want to hide away and not see. It's brilliant for that. There is one comfy corner, and when we do the front extension we're going to be putting a little corner on this side, so it kind of creates like a small side to a C shape. So then I have a corner and Josh has a corner, which will be a little more comfortable for like evening movies and that kind of thing. But there is enough space here because I do yoga every morning, so it's a big enough space for that, which I love about a Dutch barge. I don't know that you would get the same on a narrowboat. Yeah. If you want to come down and have a look through, we've got a bathroom which wasn't original. We have a lovely shower. It's quite a small amount of water, so we only have a 15-litre water tank that does the hot water, so it's quite a short shower. But I think there's quite a bit of space in the bathroom. You know, we've got mirrors and everything. We have a cupboard here, so really there's less cozy clothing space than we want. So when we do this change, you can see there's the bed here. It's going to be extended that way, so the bed will shift and go across the boat instead of lengthwise. Really, really cozy bed. It's a little bit too cozy, so our knees actually go under the front hatch, under the bow, and rolling over is kind of like 1, 2, 3, go kind of thing, just to try roll over in bed. There is some storage underneath the bed. I'm not going to lift it up, but we're hoping to have some drawers, which is a bit more convenient and nicer on the back, because yeah, lifting a whole mattress every time is a bit awkward. But we will lose a bit of the storage space that we've got there, so we're going to need to, yeah, have bigger drawers to put stuff in. We also have a bookcase, which I think is absolutely essential because we both love to read. Yeah, it's part of the slow life that we love by living on the water, so having that is absolutely essential, we think.
So thank you everyone for watching today's video, and a special thanks to Josh and Ember for showing us life on the Chimp, and we wish you all the best in your boating adventures over the summer. But over to you, Tim. I want to find out from yourself. Would you live on a Dutch barge? Would you be interested in living on one?
Yeah, I see. Well, I think they would definitely struggle to go on those aqueducts in Wales that we're planning on going on. A couple of the waterways that we would like to see first. But I have to say, I just love the space that they had, and there is something very charming about that boat. So yeah. I wouldn't say it's something that we would do immediately, but I have to say I was surprised at how much I liked it, yeah, for sure. With the boat being 101 years old, did anything surprise you in the terms of the way that they live on something so old?
Well, I suppose, you know, I've never been in a boat that is as old as the Chimp, so obviously you have lots of questions about, well, you know, what's the living arrangements going to be like and how are things going to be arranged inside. But honestly, I thought it was so well done, and it was very livable as a boat, as a home, and I think for me that was what I found the most surprising. Now over to you guys. Which would you rather live on? Would you rather live on a narrowboat, or would you be interested in living on a Dutch barge like the Chimp, or any of the others that we've mentioned, the GRP Cruiser or the widebeam? Let us know in the comment section below.
That's right, yeah, so thank you very much for making it all the way to the end of this video. Don't forget to join us next week. We've got a very special episode of Chugging Along. It is the boat race on the River Thames. It's a brother battle as well. Very exciting stuff. Yeah, we're looking forward to sharing that with you. So yeah, and until then, remember, no matter what you do in life, you've got to keep chugging.